So the Jags are currently sitting at that solid 6-4 record, and they're about to play the 3-7 Cardinals. So today I thought, why not add a running back to the Jacksonville Jaguars roster in none other than MJD. So I don't know how much it's going to help, but obviously MJD is one of the best running backs of all time. So we're just going to see how everything shakes out in the end here. So this is what the squad is looking like. And as always, I did have to force advance all the way up to week 12 because, to make it as realistic as possible. So let's just rock and roll, man. Jacksonville's division is not the most difficult to win, but the Colts are currently sitting 8-2. So, yeah, Daniel Jones, Anthony Richardson, whoever they have, does not sim well in Madden. So it should be almost a guarantee that Jacksonville gets this division, hopefully. So far, 2 wins. Then they play the Indianapolis Colts, and they lose that game. Okay, that doesn't help. They play the 3-10 Jets. They destroy the 3-10 Jets. Holy moly. Then they play the Broncos. They beat the Broncos. Pretty good win. Then they play the Colts again. This time they beat the Colts, and then they finalize it off versus the Tennessee Titans, which they lose. Okay, so they go 11-6. They do win the division, so they are going to be number 3 seed. Obviously, they're not going to be 13-4, so they're not going to win the conference. Overall, Trevor Lawrence, not a bad year. For rushing-wise, MJD had 916 yards rushing, 9 touchdowns in those amount of games. So, in the last part of the year here, he actually put up some pretty good numbers versus Travis Etienne, who, for the whole entire year, he almost put up more yards than Travis Etienne did the first 12 weeks. That's kind of crazy. You also put up 12 receptions, 151, and 3 tutties through the air. I don't know why his picture is so dark, by the way. Not sure why that's the case. But third-ranked offense, defensively, they were 14th. Not bad. All right, let's see playoffs. Chargers, first game. Think back to that Chargers-Jags game a couple years ago where the Jags were getting killed. Obviously, Jags come back and win. Chargers chargered it up. But in this playoff game, 133 yards rushing and 1 touchdown for MJD. Yeah, I would say that's probably on top of the list there as one of the best running back performances. Second game, Broncos, they won again. Okay, I was actually not expecting this. 68 yards and a touchdown. Nice. Ravens, AFC Championship game. Let's see how this goes. And they're going to win again. Okay, this is like the first time we've had a team go to the Super Bowl in a video like this whole entire month. Usually these teams do not go to the Super Bowl, so I'm actually pretty happy about this. 79 yards rushing. And as always, I got to show this just, for craps and giggles here. Postseason. Bam. Look at that bad boy. All right. Let's just see. I mean, are we going to win a Super Bowl in the first sim? Usually the second sim is the sim that's good. First sim is never the sim that is like that crazy amazing. And the Jags win by 1 singular point. MJD wins Super Bowl MVP. Wow. This is like if you could ever say the better way for 185 yards and 2 tutties. If you could ever have one player added to a roster and it go any better than this, this is the best it's going to get. This is exactly what you want to see when you add a Hall of Famer to the roster. Is literally you go to the Super Bowl, you win the Super Bowl, and your running back or your Hall of Famer is the MVP. That was there's no better scenario than that. That is arguably the best possible sim I've ever seen in my life when it comes to these videos. So, we're going to try this again. Again, there is no, getting better than what we just saw, but who knows? Maybe there is. All right, so this time we're just going to sim straight to the Super Bowl. Booty butthole naked here. And we're going to see if MJD can replicate his status or if that was a one-year wonder type concept, which, yeah, okay. This time they don't go to the Super Bowl. They lose in the, wow, they actually get the first round. So they went 13-4, and they end up losing in the first round of the playoffs. So, holy moly, they won every game. They won every single game and then lost in the first round of the playoffs. That's devastating. 919 yards and 6 tutties for MJD, so he had himself a fantastic year. But it looks like in the first round of the playoffs, 96 yards and a touchdown for MJD, but could not get the job done. All right, well, that was disappointing how that ended up turning out. I thought that was, I thought after the first sim, I thought we were going to have a really good second sim, but okay. Let's try this again. Let's keep rocking and rolling, man. I mean, again, like I said, there is no replicating that first sim. Or not replicating it, but doing better than that first sim. The only way I guess you could say is if you blew the team out in the Super Bowl, but that might not be 100% because of MJD. That's really just a factor of the, Jags being a good team. Again, they lose in the first round of the playoffs. So they get 7 seed. So they don't even win their division. 94 yards, not bad. So this time they lose the division to the Colts. They get 7 seed, and they lose in the first round of the playoffs. Wow. Yeah, this time 260 yards and 3 tutties through the air. Nice. Yeah, that first sim. That first sim was something magical, man. I guess you can't replicate magic. I don't know how that first sim did so good. That first sim was just, oh, baby. And since that, it has been, oh, baby. I am simming straight to the Super Bowl, and I'm not, doing week by week. Maybe, that has nothing to do usually with anything. The simming is same process, whether you do it like that or this. But, let's just see. Okay, this time they lose in the first round of the playoffs. They are the number 2 seed. Lose the first round of the playoffs. MJD has 172 yards and 2 touchdowns. So, a fantastic year for MJD and playoff as well. Wow, this year, actually, never mind. This year, he actually had 770 yards and 10 touchdowns. So, more touchdowns than normal, but less yards. All right, I'm going to do one more sim, and we'll do the game-by-game basics just to cover our basics here. See what I did there? Anyway, we'll just see how this works. All right, game by game, so we're not doing the sim straight to the playoffs method. I don't know if this is going to go any better than normal, but they lose to the Titans this time, so I guess that's an indication of not going to be better than normal. All right, come on. Not bad. Looking pretty good so far. Beating the Colts is always a W. They lose to the Broncos. Losing to the Broncos is never a W. Beat the Colts, and then they play the Titans. And they finish it off with a W. So this time 11-6. That will win the division, and that will give them number 3 seed. Also, of course, MJD, 908 yards and 7 tutties. MJD, 223 yards and 4 tutties. All right, so Chargers again, wild card, which our first sim was Chargers in the wild card. They win that game. Okay. And 77 yards and a touchdown for MJD. Broncos again. They lose to the Broncos. So this was almost identical to the first sim. I just realized that because the first sim, we played the Broncos divisional, and then we played championship versus the Ravens. This time, the Ravens lose, and we lose. So, wow. And then MJD, 70 yards. And then for the other side, no, we played the Rams. They lost in the first round. Never mind. All right, guys, tell me down below your thoughts, opinions. I'll see you guys next one.